Every night, somewhere, someone cleans the office where a $1 million deal got signed that afternoon, empties the trash can next to the desk where it happened, wipes down the conference table nobody will remember was ever dirty. At 22, that someone is you. You make $12 an hour. 19 years later, companies pay millions of dollars a year just to have your name on their cleaning contract. Between those two moments sits a $105 billion janitorial services industry, roughly 1 million businesses competing inside it across America, and a floor that gets dirty again every single night, no matter how well you clean it. This is the business ladder, how far you can go owning a commercial cleaning company. If you like breakdowns of how businesses actually grow from the inside, subscribe. New video every week. The company you work for is called ProShine. You've never met the owner. You've met his voicemail. Your supervisor is a woman named Pam who does the schedule from her kitchen table and calls you if you're 4 minutes late clocking in through an app you didn't know existed until your second week. Your building is a law firm on the 9th floor. 12 offices, 2 conference rooms, a break room with a coffee maker nobody ever cleans properly. You vacuum, empty trash, wipe down glass, disinfect the bathrooms. 3 hours a night, 5 nights a week. $180 a week before taxes. ProShine bills the law firm $1,850 a month for that floor. You find that number by accident, looking over Pam's shoulder at an invoice she left open on a shared laptop. You do the math twice because you don't believe it the first time. The average janitor and building cleaner in America earns about $36,000 a year as of 2026. Call it $17 to $18 an hour. Top earners in the field clear closer to $49,000. The gap between that number and the number the client actually pays isn't the work. It's who owns the contract. You start saving $40 a week. It takes you 11 months to save $1,900. You buy a used Windsor backpack vacuum, a set of microfiber supplies, and a beat-up Honda Civic hatchback that becomes your entire fleet. Your first client is a dentist's office. You cold walked in on a Tuesday afternoon and asked for the office manager. Her name is Renata. She's been handling the cleaning vendor herself since the last company missed 3 appointments in a row and never called to explain. You quote her $280 a month for 2 nights a week. She says yes on the spot, mostly out of exhaustion. You clean that office yourself after your ProShine shift, starting at 1 a.m. some nights. You quit ProShine 4 months later when you have 6 accounts and the math finally tips in your favor. First year revenue, $34,000. Net after supplies, gas, and insurance, $19,800. Less than ProShine paid you on paper once you count the hours. But every client is yours. Every invoice has your name on it. Commercial cleaning runs on one thing new owners underestimate: bonding and insurance. General liability, janitorial bonding against theft claims, sometimes workers' comp the moment you hire your first employee. Skip it to save money early, and one bad client relationship, a missing laptop, a broken vase, an accusation that goes nowhere, ends the business in a single afternoon. You get bonded properly in month 6, $1,100 a year. It feels like money wasted until the night a paralegal at one of your accounts claims a ring went missing from her desk drawer. The bond covers the investigation and the claim. Nothing comes of it. She finds the ring in her car, but the account stays because you handled it the right way, calmly, with paperwork instead of panic. Year 2, you hire your first employee. A woman named Odessa, 46, spent 9 years cleaning hotel rooms before the hotel switched to a national contractor that cut her hours to nothing. She trains under you for 2 weeks before you let her run a building alone. She learns your standard. Nothing gets called done until you'd be comfortable if the client walked in behind you unannounced. Odessa becomes the person you trust with the accounts that matter most. Not because she's fast, because she never once, in 4 years, causes a client to ask a question you didn't want asked. Year 3, revenue crosses $110,000. You add a property management company as a client. 6 buildings, common areas only, paid on net 30 terms that feel like a trap the first time a check arrives 17 days late with no explanation. You learn the difference between a load board client and a contract client without ever hearing those words. Small offices come and go, chase the cheapest quote, switch vendors over a $30 difference. The property management contract doesn't switch. It renews. It's the first client that lets you plan more than 1 month ahead. Year 4, you buy your first branded van. $18,600, financed. Magnetic decals cost another $340. It's the first time a client calls you the company with the green van instead of asking your name. Small thing. It changes how people answer the phone when you call. Year 5. 14 accounts, 3 employees, revenue at $340,000. You buy your first commercial floor buffer, $6,800, after losing a bid on a retail chain account because you couldn't handle their waxed floor program. You win the next retail bid you go after. Then the call comes from Renata. Not the dentist office anymore. She moved 2 years ago to manage operations for a mid-size medical clinic network, 6 locations. She remembers you showed up at 1 a.m. more than once without complaint. She wants a quote for all 6 clinics. You quote it too low the first time, worried about losing it to a bigger company. She tells you flatly the number is too low for a healthcare account with compliance requirements and to re-quote it properly. Nobody had ever told you to charge more before. You re-quote at $4,200 a month. She signs it. Year 6, you hire your first salesperson, a man named Greg, straight commission plus a small base who spent 11 years selling office supplies before the territory got consolidated out from under him. You lose a $260,000 annual bid to a national chain that quotes it below your labor cost just to take the account away from you. Greg tells you not to chase it. You watch a competitor eat that contract at a loss for 2 years before they quietly drop it. The client comes back to you at your original price. You learn that some bids aren't worth winning. Year 7, revenue, $780,000. 11 employees. A dispatcher and account manager named Felix, who spent 6 years running routes for a national janitorial franchise until corporate restructured his region and eliminated his position over a conference call that lasted 4 minutes. He knows every compliance requirement for medical and food service accounts, every OSHA log you're supposed to keep, and never did until he showed up. Felix finds $14,000 a year in supply costs you're overpaying by buying retail instead of wholesale. Gone within a month of him finding it. You add a food service division, commercial kitchen deep cleaning, hood systems, health code compliant floor treatments. Different equipment, different certifications. 30% higher margins than office cleaning. Restaurant groups don't switch vendors easily once you pass a health inspection cleanly under their name. Year 9, 26 employees. Revenue, $1.6 million. Then a Tuesday morning in March. A regional grocery chain, your largest single account, $180,000 a year, gets acquired by a national chain that brings its own preferred vendor list. The termination letter gives you 30 days, no cure period, no renewal option. $180,000 gone in one email. The same month, your workers' comp premium jumps from $22,000 to $41,000 after a slip and fall claim from an employee at a different account, unrelated to the grocery chain, that you did nothing wrong on but still pay for through the whole industry's rate pool tightening. You sit at your kitchen table with the termination letter and the insurance renewal side by side. The gap is $199,000 against a business doing $1.6 million. Survivable on paper. Terrifying in the moment. You call Felix before 8 a.m. He already has 3 leads from brokers he's kept relationships with for years, a school district bid, a second hospital network expansion, and a callback from a manufacturing plant that turned you down 18 months earlier over price. You re-quote the manufacturing plant at the old rate, not a discount. They take it, unprompted, saying the vendor they picked instead never showed up reliably. Odessa takes over training 4 new hires in 6 weeks to cover the gap without dropping quality anywhere. By July, the grocery loss is fully replaced. Not with one account, with 4 smaller ones that combined are steadier than the single big client ever was. You stop chasing accounts that could disappear over a single acquisition email again. Year 11, 3:12 a.m. Your phone rings. A supply line feeding a fire sprinkler head has burst on the 4th floor of the medical clinic network's largest building, Renata's account. Water is already coming through the ceiling tiles into the billing department below. 40,000 square feet of carpet, drywall, and equipment sit under an active leak, and the clinic opens for patients in 4 hours. You don't wait for the property manager to call a restoration company. You call Odessa. She calls 2 crews. You're on site in 20 minutes with wet vacs, air movers, and every fan your warehouse owns. Felix gets a commercial water damage contractor on the phone at 3:40 a.m. and has him moving equipment in by 4:15. You personally shop vac water out of a server room floor at 5 a.m. because the one guy certified to be near the equipment is stuck in traffic. The clinic opens on time. Not clean, dry. A dropped ceiling tile here, a fan running in a hallway there. But every exam room is usable, and no patient ever knows how close it came to a full closure. Renata calls you personally that afternoon, not to complain, but because the property manager tried to bill the emergency response to her department, and she wants it fought. You fight it. You win. That night becomes the story Renata tells every executive she ever refers you to for the next 8 years. Year 12, 44 employees, 3 service lines, office, medical, food service. Revenue, $3.9 million. EBITDA, around $560,000. A private equity-backed consolidator calls. Contract-based commercial cleaning platforms are trading at 3 to 5 times EBITDA in 2026, and yours has the recurring contract mix they want. At 3.5 times, the offer is $1.96 million. You listen. You write the number on the back of an invoice sitting on your desk. You don't sell. Instead, you buy a smaller competitor 2 counties over. A floor care specialist with contracts you don't have the equipment for yet. $310,000. Their book of accounts pays for the purchase within 14 months. Year 16, 61 employees. Renata, now VP of Operations for the hospital network, brings you the bid that changes everything. A full facility services contract across 4 hospital campuses. Not just cleaning, but floor care, waste management, and terminal cleaning for surgical suites, worth $3.6 million a year on its own. You spend 4 months getting certified for the surgical suite protocols. Felix sources 2 specialists from a competitor that lost the contract they used to hold. Odessa runs the transition team personally for the first 90 days, sleeping 4 hours a night the way you used to years ago in a law firm on the 9th floor. The contract signs. Revenue crosses $8.1 million the year it's fully onboarded. Year 19. 3 offers in 4 months. A national janitorial platform, a healthcare services group, a private equity roll-up. EBITDA sits at $1.5 million. Multi-market regional operators with specialty healthcare and food service lines are commanding 5 to 8 times EBITDA this year. The specialty mix pushes you toward the top of that band. 19 years earlier, you saved $40 a week for 11 months to buy a used vacuum. The wire that's about to land is worth more than every paycheck you've earned in your life, combined, several times over. You hire a broker at 8%. Final number, $7.4 million cash plus $900,000 in equipment and vehicle value at roughly 5 times EBITDA. The wire clears on a Thursday morning. You're at your son's middle school science fair. His volcano is on the 3rd table from the left. The phone buzzes once in your pocket. You look at it, turn it face down on the folding table, and ask him to walk you through what makes it erupt. A $1,900 backpack vacuum bought with 11 months of saved up $40. A dentist's office that said yes out of exhaustion. A ring that turned up in a car instead of a bond claim. A flooded 4th floor at 3 a.m. that never became a headline. 19 years of showing up at buildings after everyone else has gone home. Odessa retired last year. She owns 4% of the company that bought yours. Negotiated into her exit personally because you insisted on it. Felix still runs operations for the new owners. They kept him on year 1 of the deal. And by year 2, they doubled his authority because nobody else could keep the compliance calendar straight. Renata still calls sometimes, just to talk. Not about contracts, about nothing in particular. The buildings still get dirty every night, somewhere, regardless of who owns the contract to clean them. The only question that ever mattered, how far were you willing to go? Subscribe if you want to see how far the next one goes.